Hello everybody, Richard Hart here with a poker professional, Alec Torelli. But if you want to remember his name, just call him Tortellini. He loves it.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on the show.
My pleasure.
Well, and glad to be here. Thanks for doing this. Really excited.
We should introduce your friend as well.
I'm Harrison. I've been following you for years, Richard.
Nice.
And
well, you must be a genius.
I wish, yeah. Not quite.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So what are we talking about today, guys? My headline says Bitcoin to 100K.
Yep.
Is Bitcoin going to 100K? Or 10K?
Yeah, what about HEX to $1?
Yeah, we'll do that too. It's more likely.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, we did a show on, Harrison and I, for those watching, we did a show on our channel on Cryptorelli, my YouTube, and you know, we weren't HEX holders, we're not shilling our bags. We just had an open conversation about HEX. And I think the community really appreciated it because we were just having a conversation. We're trying to seek the truth, get to the bottom of it, understand the project better without being like, you know, everyone buy HEX, HEX is going to the moon. So, yeah, we wanted to learn more about the project, kind of have a interview from people that perhaps weren't, you know, HEX holders, ardent fans, but ardent like.
I think the problem with talking to non-HEX holders is that they're stupider. Like, truthfully,
probably.
It would be like, I want to talk to people that like motorcycles that don't have motorcycles. You're like, nah, like they just know less. Hexicans are really smart.
I think I might be in that middle IQ, and I said this on my show where like I'm not smart enough to get it. Maybe I'm not dumb enough to get it. I'm in between.
I can explain this to you so easy, bro. It's going to be so easy.
So that's why we're here. You're going to be able to convert two people potentially in real time.
Okay.
So I guess our first question is just like, what do you see the end game of HEX being? Like, what do you see it becoming in like 10 years?
Let's skip the first question and let me try and elucidate HEX's amazing properties in a different way. Do you understand Bitcoin? Do you know how Bitcoin works?
Yeah, I think I understand Bitcoin very well. I think Harrison does too.
Nice. Well, for those guys viewing that may not understand how Bitcoin works, I'm going to try and explain it very simply as well. And when I say simply, I mean really, really simply. Okay. Bitcoin, it is an Excel spreadsheet that lives on the internet that has everyone's money on it, and then you can spend if you have your password, and then it inflates at about 2% a year inflation to pay people to keep the spreadsheet honest. And that's it. That's all Bitcoin is. So what is HEX? It's that with two changes. Instead of inflating to pay people to secure the network, we inflate to pay people to secure the price. So our inflation goes to people that lock their coins up so they can't sell them, so the price goes up. And instead of using Bitcoin miners, we use Ethereum miners. And that's it. There you go. I've just explained all of Bitcoin to you, and I've just explained HEX to you. It's really super easy and super simple. Took about 45 seconds, minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
Harrison, you want to shoot?
Yeah,
I know you had a question on this.
This actually gets to one of my biggest sticking points that I had is there's an APR associated with with investing your tokens, locking them up.
Yes.
And I know that can go as high as about 37% approximately.
Actually, it goes much higher. That's the average. That's the average that people receive. So if you stake shorter than average, you'll get less. So like a 1-year stake might be like 18% APR. But mind you, that APR number is a lie. The actual APR is millions of percent, but it's too big of a number to show people. It scares them. So if you count your APR in dollars, it's millions of percent. But if you count your APR in just HEX, then it's, you know, in between 18 and 60, depending on how long you stake.
Right. So my key issue with it is when you borrow money, typically, or when you lend money, typically they generate a yield by doing something productive with the money. And I know you've given the counterpoint that the Federal Reserve technically just lends them 10 times whatever you give the bank. That is true, but ultimately your deposit does create their ability to then lend out 10 times that amount of money into a productive use in the economy. Theoretically, starting a business. Yeah,
there's a lot of productivity in the economy. GDP is really flying. No, actually, it's just a Rube Goldberg machine. So, one, HEX is more similar to Bitcoin than it is to a CD. HEX really has absolutely no similarity to a CD whatsoever. None. So like CDs don't have high volatility, they have extremely low volatility. CDs are traditionally denominated in the dollar, which only goes down in value, almost never up. It's lost 92% of its purchasing power over the last 80 or 90 years, I believe. So, you know, I'd not, other than the fact that you just want to make more money on your money, there isn't any similarity between HEX and a normal CD whatsoever. Now for fun, so since HEX is most similar to Bitcoin, Bitcoin generates yield as well. It just sucks, and it just pays it to miners to destroy the environment. So in Bitcoin, the inflation goes to hardware manufacturers, which aren't in America. They're just weird foreign companies that test the hardware and take all its profitability before they actually ship it to you. And the first 2 weeks of profitability is half that the machine will ever generate. So being delayed by 2 weeks jacks you for half of your profit. And what do they do with the money that they get from the Bitcoin inflation? They dump it for electricity to pollute the environment, or you could say only 20% of that pollutes the environment. But okay, it's 20% of a quite large number. HEX doesn't have those problems. HEX doesn't pollute the environment to secure its chain because we piggybacked ETH, which is already paying all that horror fee on their own. They're already, you know, ETH miners are already dumping the ETH price to secure the ETH chain. We're just piggybacking on that. So we don't have to, you know, we're a hybrid proof of work, proof of stake network where our inflation only comes from proof of stake and our transactions only come from proof of work. But, you know, that proof of work is already massively subsidized by the ETH guys paying all of the costs. You know, when you're an ETH miner, you don't earn HEX and you don't dump HEX to pay for electricity, but you do earn ETH and you do dump ETH. So we removed a giant negative externality, which is why inflation in our system is unlike inflation in any other system. You don't need to sell the HEX inflation to pay for negative externalities, but you do in Bitcoin and Ethereum. So comparing our inflation rate to their inflation rates is a little bit silly. And comparing our yield to the yield of a time deposit in the bank is also silly. But for fun, just to educate everyone at home about time deposits, your money doesn't get lent out. Are you listening? When you give your money to the bank, it doesn't get lent out. It's not an asset to the bank. It's a liability. They owe it to you. So what do they do with it? They let it sit there and act as a reserve to get leveraged up tenfold and get 10 times the free money from the government. And what is that money the government gives them? Inflation. Aha. So in fact, when you put your money in the bank, anyone that gets yield gets it from inflation. Dun, dun, dun. And where do Bitcoin miners get their yield? Inflation. And where do HEX stakers get their yield? Inflation. And so, you know, every proof of stake network or every proof of work network operates by the same principle. And by the way, Bitcoin went up, 6.9 million X from a penny. So its pay for inflation model seemed to work just fine. Ethereum went up from 31 cents, unless you caught the wick, down to 15 on Kraken, up to 5,000. So the model seems to work just fine. And it's the same model that HEX has. So, go ahead. So
is the reason for the high yields on
the reason
HEX,
the yield is so high is because the staking participation is so low. If the staking participation was 100%.
Right, that was my question.
Sure.
Because the origin address, presumably, and again, we don't know who owns it, so no claims there, but the origin address presumably isn't staking, and they own a large percentage of the token. So is it because the origin address isn't staking so that yield is then higher for everyone else because there's less tokens staked? Is like a large part of it?
Regardless of whom is not staking their coins, only around 10 or 11% of coins are staked, which 10x is the 3.69 average.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And it's just the same thing as a Bitcoin miner. So if you were the only Bitcoin miner, it cost you $1 to mine Bitcoin on your laptop, then you'd be making an absolute killing. So once you just look at HEX as Bitcoin with a proof of work change from destroy environment to lock up coins to support price, everything's really easy and really clear. Like staking your HEX is like getting free Bitcoin mining machines that run without electricity. It's awesome.
I get that. one of the things that I like thought about in terms of money is that like money tends to one. Like there tends to be a convergence on society as a store of value. So do you see this competing with Bitcoin? Again? There seems to be like a convergence with society on a most efficient money, like gold, right? The world's converged on.
Nope, that's not true. It's not true at all. Originally, we had sound money. It was backed by metals. Then it was backed by crappier metals. So they switched from gold to silver. Then it was backed by nothing. They like to say it's backed by guns. But if it was backed by guns, the value would be going up, not down, because we got more guns. Doesn't make any sense. So this concept of fiat currencies, of which all have gone to zero over time.
Right.
It's only a 50-year-old experiment that happened with the Nixon crisis, where he just depegged, he broke the Bretton Woods Agreement and just depegged the dollar from gold. It was like, lol. And you can see it on every chart. So like there's a website called WTF Happened in 1971, and you see every financial chart get totally wrecked in 71 or 72 or 74, some early 70s number. And, you know, so this idea that like society converges on money, not true. No evidence for that whatsoever. This idea that there will be a winner take all in currency, also, nope. No evidence for that whatsoever. Bitcoin goes to all-time highs when alts go to all-time highs. What do you think the most commonly purchased thing that people buy with their Bitcoin is? Alts. What do you think the most cool thing you can buy with Bitcoin is? Alts. What do you think outperforms Bitcoin into oblivion and has more features and more price performance and more security? In the case of HEX, HEX is more secure than Bitcoin. HEX is more secure than Bitcoin. You like secure money? HEX is more secure. I can explain it to you if you don't want to just accept the premise.
You see these things coinciding. You don't see like one thing competing for a world reserve currency in terms of HEX or Bitcoin. You see both of these appreciating over time as people adopt. But you see HEX as a more efficient form of money, like a more efficient Bitcoin.
It is. Right. It's more secure. It has less negative externalities. It has more features. It will soon operate on more than one chain with PulseChain launching. You'll have eventually encapsulated HEX stakes on other chains as well. We live in a multi-chain world now. I mean, there's just like Bitcoin. I think HEX went up like 750x versus Bitcoin. Like if you would have bought HEX at January 5th of last year and sold it 3 months ago, you would have been up 750-fold your Bitcoin. So you could have 750x'd your stack of Bitcoin. If you loved Bitcoin so much, you would have sold it for HEX. You know, so it's the chart doesn't lie. The chart's very clear. I mean, HEX went up 1,000,000% from January 5th to 3 months ago before staking. If you'd staked, it would be up 2 million%, 1.5 million%, depending on how long you staked.
Before we like wrap up this first question though, the yield that you're generating, ultimately the 37% that people go in and investing thinking I'm going to earn 37%. The reason I had a problem
tends to be vastly more because it's just your HEX return. You multiply that by your dollar gains and you're like in
by your price appreciation. Right.
Yeah. You're like, wow.
The reason I had a problem with it is people think they get that 37% in purchasing power, but that relies on the network continuing to grow. If the network doesn't continue to grow and more money come in, then that 37% will not be there in purchasing power. It will be there in token value in terms of units of tokens, but not in necessarily in purchasing power. Right?
You just addressed an issue of perception, and HEX has the most honest website in cryptocurrency. If you go to hex.com, it's going to tell you that the price dips 80% and has 5-6 times. If you go to Bitcoin's website, it doesn't say anything like that whatsoever. It says Bitcoin's volatile. People don't know what volatile means. So as far as like price risk and downside risk and talking about like, hey, you're lucky this stuff works at all, solar flare could kill everything. HEX is the most honest website in the entire world. No one in any cryptocurrency website has more clear disclosure about HEX. When I publish charts of the HEX price, I highlight all the dips. I only draw one upside and I highlight every single dip. Look, 70, 60, 50, 80. Who does that? There's no one more honest than me.
I'm not saying it's dishonest at all. I have a problem with like yield farming. with yield farming nowadays, people see these crazy APYs and they don't realize that you only get that if the token holds its purchasing power, which doesn't happen most of the time.
Well, notice that we don't advertise that. We don't even, so like you're supporting my behavior. So you're saying you don't like when people quote misleading yield stuff, and our yield is exactly what you will get in HEX. We don't use the crazy other numbers like everyone else. So we're doing everything better. Like HEX is better. It's a better domain name. It's a better founder. Hey, we're Satoshi. When Bitcoin.org got hacked and had a scam, literally scamming people on their homepage, where was Satoshi? Where was Satoshi to defend the Bitcoiners? I did a live stream, an emergency one that I didn't want to do to protect everybody. Where's his punk ass? Nowhere to be found. So HEX has a better logo, a better URL, a better founder, better price performance, better features, less negative externalities, is better for the environment. What else can we do to win harder? We're killing it. Like there's not, like other than fiat on-ramps, which HEX isn't designed to address, we're absolutely murdering it. We're winning the game.
But you'll admit if the network wasn't growing by user count and money coming in, it wouldn't be as pretty, right?
Let's do the parade of imaginary horribles. I can tell you want to do it. What if everyone sells at once? It'll go to zero. What if everyone sells all the stocks at once? They'll go to zero. What if everyone sells all the houses at once? They go to zero. Oh, hey, Bitcoin, the blue chip, most decentralized, highest market cap, most liquidity, right? Drops 85% every 3 years. Oopsie. Hey, Ethereum, awesome, world computer, blah, blah, blah. Dropped 95%. Ever since HEX had a price on a real market, it ain't never dropped 95%. What's up, ETH homies? How come your coin sucks balls? Why'd it drop 95%? Talk to me. Hey, I remember back when Vitalik said that it shouldn't cost, dollars to send transactions. Well, that's funny because it costs like $20 to send ETH now. And who's actually trying to solve that? Me, because I'm forking Ethereum. And you can use that testnet. You can go to PulseChain, go to t.me/PulseChain.com and download the parameters and use the PulseChain testnet right now. And you'll see all your coins there, all your beautiful little ERC20s. They're all sitting there. Testnet version 2 will be launching next week, I hope. And then hopefully mainnet a month or two later. And then we can
congrats on that. I wanted to ask about Pulse too. So do you think, and this is kind of a HEX Pulse question, but do you think mainstream adoption is a challenge when a large amount of the tokens are owned by the origin address, or in the case of PulseChain?
Nope. No one cares.
I guess a two-part question. So you could address each one, but like also in the case of PulseChain, when whoever controls the ledger controls the system through proof of stake. So do you think that's a challenge for adoption?
Let's talk about it. When was the best time to buy Bitcoin? When Satoshi owned 100% of the coins and there was no liquidity and there was barely any place you could buy it. Oh, interesting. When was the best time to buy Amazon stock or Facebook stock or Google stock? When the founders owned 100% of the coins and there was very little liquidity and it was very hard to buy. Oh, who knew? Yep, that's the case. And when you go to buy your Amazon stock or your Tesla stock, do you scroll onto the website and find out how much the founders own? And do you wish the founders owned less? And would you think, oh man, yeah, this founder doesn't own any of this garbage. That's way better for my investment. See, I don't understand why everyone gets everything so literally entirely backwards. So your gut feeling, your premise is centralized ownership bad for price. Nope, no, it's not. Go look at every single ERC20 that is murdering Bitcoin, and they all have like 98 or 95 or 90% of their coins in the top 100 addresses. All of them, every one. By the way, HEX has less. But everyone has everything backwards, and I have to de-educate them of their silly ideas. Centralized ownership is amazing. Did you know that 42% of Bitcoin sits in 2,176 addresses? Did you know that? It's fact.
I knew it was concentrated. I didn't know that specific.
Yeah, just go to Bitcoin rich list, and it'll be.
But a lot of those are exchanges, correct?
Yeah. Well, okay. And who holds the keys? And how does that work out for the users usually when they give the exchanges their keys? Mt. Gox, Quadriga CX, BTCE. I could go down the list.
Well, this makes sense.
KuCoin's
in
been
HEX.
hacked.
What about in the case of Pulse, where they're trusting like the network itself because it's a proof of stake, and if someone owns more than a large portion of the network, they can control the network. Is that a risk?
All of these systems are socially enforced. Bitcoin has a 21 million coin limit, right? Not really. If the miners decide to change that number, they can just change that number. Period. That's it.
Right.
Bitcoin has a limit that the miners say it does. Same for the block size limit. Same for every single parameter in the network. If you're not a miner on the network, you don't actually have any say in what the parameters of the network are. Now, you could argue that there's a triumvirate and that, the exchanges care and matter to some degree. The miners care and matter to some degree, and the users care and matter to some degree. And then the devs kind of matter as well, because everyone just double clicks EXE and uses default params. So the devs kind of matter. Because these are all socially enforced networks, what really prevents 51% attacks in Bitcoin? That they're very hard to be profitable on. What really prevents?
Yeah, it's game theory, right? I mean, that's
exactly.
That's what I like about poker, is like it really helps understand crypto, because you understand people's independent economic incentives and how they're going to behave.
People are in general going to do what is in their financial interests. And it's in general in the financial interests of miners not to 51% attack the networks and make their miners worth less. And then they're like, oh, look, I've got miners that used to be worth a lot, but then I tried to play games and now they're worth quite little. And the same thing applies for proof of stake. Hey, you've got this massive stake in a thing. Why don't you shoot your investment in the head by doing stupid stuff? No one does it.
Yeah.
So
it's like a benevolent whale type of description.
Well, I mean, if you believe what is commonly said in startups and open source software is that a benevolent dictator is the most efficient form of governance.
Yeah.
And, you kind of look at that and you're like, look at the Bitcoin code. All of the commits are like 2 guys. It's like, you're like, okay, there's so many things I know that nobody else knows. This is crazy. I wish I had a larger audience because it could make the world so much smarter. You want to know what wasn't in the Bitcoin white paper? The inflation rate, the halvening of the interest every 4 years. Those things aren't in there. The block size limit. None of those things are in there. You're like, okay, that's pretty funny, because those are really important parameters, right? Like the inflation rate and the fact that it would cut in half every 4 years might be something you might want to chuck in ye old white paper. Bitcoin also has no written spec, so if you want to write a client for it, screw yourself. You're just like, good luck being bug for bug compatible with the C++ version that originally only ran on Windows and had a poker client in it. There's so much stuff I know nobody else knows. It's hilarious.
So we have this design. What's to stop a competitor for doing something similar?
Which product?
Is it because with something like HEX? Like why is HEX like?
Well, let's go over that. Did HEX?
No,
I mean, to clarify for the audience, he's referring to the Lindy effect, which states that the longer something has existed, the longer it is likely to exist. But notice that Lindy effect argument doesn't speak to market price. So, you know, pencils have been around a long time, but you really wouldn't have
That's
been.
Fair.
You wouldn't
Thanks
have
for the clarification.
A pencil.
Yeah, that was needed.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we could, if we're going to play the like analyze laws game, we can get into Metcalfe's law. You know, the value of one fax machine is nothing. The value of like 100 fax machines is 100 squared. So as you can communicate with more people, communication networks become more valuable. But in reality, is the main utility of these networks communication, or is it speculation? It's primarily speculation. So
right,
it operates
for sure.
differently. So, you know, what are some other funny laws we could put in there? What's the one where the good money drives out the bad?
Gresham's law.
Gresham's law. Yeah, that one's always misquoted. Gresham's law requires that there be an artificial peg and that people just decide to route around that stupid peg and keep the good money and spend the bad money. But there is no artificial peg to be dealing with here, so it's just an irrelevant non sequitur, but you know, people bring it up all the time. Yeah, and then there's other things like we could bring up Veblen goods, where the more expensive something is, the more people want it, which you'll see in Bitcoin.
Exactly.
These are reflexive systems.
Like a nightclub at the Wynn.
There you go. Yeah, the longer the queue, the more they want in. Same shitty club on the inside. You're like, hey, you know, I've been to a lot of clubs. Oh, so many clubs.
So your argument is that there's like a network effect which stifles competition with something like HEX, where it's just like the rich get richer because it's the go-to currency for this sort of protocol.
No. So there's a big, if you make the misassumption between replacement goods and complementary goods, you've made a huge unforgivable error. So do you think that Ethereum is a replacement good for Bitcoin? Did Ethereum hurt Bitcoin's price?
No.
Probably not.
I mean, maybe, but
probably not.
Probably not.
I mean, it does so much more. It
probably helped the ecosystem to get people into crypto, and then people come into NFTs through Ethereum, and then they put money into Bitcoin eventually.
God, I hate NFTs so much. So on the one hand, because Pulse is the world's largest airdrop to ever occur in history, it also is airdropping everyone's NFTs. And so from the perspective of making Pulse look more awesome, I want to not savage and crap talk NFTs, but I absolutely hate them and they disgust me. So here's what an NFT, and I know you've got NFT in your bio, so this ought to be a spicy argument. But since you know all these cool laws like I do,
I'm not a maximalist about anything though, so I don't care.
Well, I mean, bro, you're buying a serial number loosely related to a JPEG, which may or may not still be hosted on the internet. Get fucked, like instantly. Like, no, absolutely not. Hey, the hosting for your JPEG went down. What are you going to do? Kill yourself? Who are you going to cry to? It's not even on the blockchain. It's not even uploaded to the blockchain. Are you kidding me? It's such trash. Hey, you bought pixelated garbage generative art. You could have bought and created your own series of NFTs for less than the piece of crap JPEG you kind of think you bought. But you didn't even buy the JPEG, and you don't have any intellectual property rights to it. You can actually buy art with rights. Did you know that?
I agree NFTs are in a huge bubble and 99% will go to zero. My next video is called Why 99% of NFTs are going to zero. So I agree.
I think please.
I think there's a few that are there's a few that are social tokens. We should get back to HEX, but I think a few are social tokens, like basically you buy into a community of people where there's a barrier to entry. But
it's called
other
karma.
than that, I think
it's called karma. They have it on Reddit.
I think most of them are going to do bad. I know Harrison had a question though. So
yeah, speaking of community, I've noticed on Twitter that the HEX community is probably the most present of any community, even compared to Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I'm wondering,
I would say so too. I think the HEX community is the strongest I've ever seen. So shout out to you guys. Thanks for all your support in our last video.
And these are all real humans that speak English and are like American white bread.
I interacted with 50 of them. They are all very kind. I really like the HEX community.
There's a lot of smart ones, man.
Is there anything that you did? Is there some sort of secret sauce to how you got so many loyal defenders and followers?
Yeah. One, I'm polarizing because I know stuff nobody else knows, and I speak the truth. And when you speak truth to power or truth to stupid, it shocks people. So, I've had a devoted audience for a really long time. And then I build stuff, which is just awesome. Like, Bitcoin tried to be peer-to-peer cash, failed. Tried to be programmable money, failed. Wasn't even ever supposed to be digital gold, but seems to be doing that okay, thank goodness. As long as you're okay with getting a 20% return on your money after waiting 6 months. The price performance kind of sucks. So the logo's better. We've got more people tattooing the logo on their bodies. It matters. Everything matters. Having a better, HEX is a wildly better brand name than Bitcoin. Trash, compound word, with two components that are meaningless to anybody and totally played out. The word bit is just played out to death. The word coin now is played out to death. It may not have been then when it was invented, but he didn't even have the .com. I guess I guess we didn't have the .com when we launched as well, but it's a little bit harder to get a 3-letter dictionary than it is to get a compound 2 words that suck URL, we did everything right. Our Telegram channel, there's constantly 70 plus people in the voice chat in PulseChain, constantly. There's 55,000 people there. There's only 36,000 people in HEX chat. And HEX, I think Pulse is going to blow people's minds. I really do. I mean, it's got like 50% more people in the chat, but HEX's chat's been around for 10 times as long. It's going to be crazy. We gave Bitcoiners free money with HEX, but we're giving everyone that's got any ERC20 or any NFT or any Ethereum free money with Pulse, and they're just a better audience, and there's a lot more of them, and it's just wild, man.
Do you see it competing with ETH? Like, do you see it overtaking ETH, being like a replacement for ETH?
Well,
how do you
I mean, I advertise it. I advertise it as something that's
maybe you could do a little 30-second of what Pulse is, because I don't think we actually touched on that yet. We talked about it a few times, but just high level of Pulse.
Yeah. So, Ethereum is awesome compared to Bitcoin because you can actually do programmable money. You can actually do decentralized finance. You can actually do centralized exchange. So we have decentralized exchange, we have stable coins, we have algorithmic stable coins, we have the world's first blockchain time deposit, HEX. We've got margin trading, options, stupid meme tokens, stupid NFTs, you name it. It's all on the Ethereum network. Problem with that is Ethereum network now is clogged into death, and it costs, let's look it up. Let's look up what the terrible...
I did a few DeFi transactions this morning. It costs hundreds of dollars to get money into 3 or 4 places. You're spending $200, $300, $400 by the time you're done with a multitude of transactions you need to make. I mean, let alone one Uniswap transaction, $120. And gas is low. It's insane. ETH is insanely prohibitive to 95%, 99% of people.
Yeah, gas right now is low. And it costs on average $29 to send an ERC-20. It costs on average $90 to do Uniswap swap. It's not.
What about to do a HEX stake contract? Probably.
I think staking is quite affordable, but end staking costs more because it's based on, it has to do an addition function every time you have an extra day that you earn interest. So your end stake costs are based on how long the stake was, but your start stake costs, they're very affordable. I think that PulseChain, what it does is it attempts to reduce the Ethereum fees by removing load from the Ethereum network. So if you have a copy, like if you use Decentraland or something, you can't do anything. You're just literally totally crippled because you can't afford to perform any function whatsoever. You're just screwed. And there are many, many, many projects that are totally and completely paralyzed by the Ethereum fees. They're disgusting. And the only way to reduce them is to add capacity, period. And so by forking the network and putting everyone's coins on a network with higher throughput, less negative externalities, no need to destroy the environment with proof of work, we're beating Ethereum 2.0 to market with their own feature set, but with all the coins. So it's just awesome. Like PulseChain, PulseChain.com, Pulse.info, absolutely amazing.
What was the limiting factor in how much you could improve the throughput of Pulse compared to Ethereum?
Well, Geth sucks, and all of Ethereum is Geth, and it's trash. And Geth will tell you that they're limited by just EVM processing speed. I don't even think that's really true. I think there's other bottlenecks as well. And so what you don't need is another ghost chain that has a ton of capacity and no users. We have tons of those.
Yeah.
And so what you need is the right balance of users and throughput. And you don't need more throughput than you have users. And so you can scale the throughput up with the users. So we copied known good parameters from the BSC network, which is Geth-based fork of Ethereum, which didn't come with state. And they have absolutely massive gas limits per block, and they do 3-second blocks. So I actually don't know what I think to play it safe, because BSC nodes are almost falling over now. They're really, you just can't keep them in sync. But they're also under very, 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 very high load, doing multiple millions of transactions a day. The max you could do on Ethereum is maybe 1.5 million transactions a day. I think BSC is exceeding that currently. So, my position is, for instance, today we just made a design decision to drop the freemium. So originally, if you're an ETH holder, whatever you got for free, whatever Pulse you got for free would be removed from you 30 days later, so that you can't hurt the price if you didn't participate. But since they're already being diluted by 1,000,000x, so they're getting 0.000 whatever % of the total supply, it's just a waste of processing time to have nodes go down for who knows how long. I mean, so in our test, just to write all the balances for the sacrifice credits, it's 6 to 10 hours, depending on the machine. And there's ways that we can get that down, but it's imagine now that instead of having to do it for 60,000 addresses, you have to do it for every Ethereum address. Silly. So the idea of reducing complexity, getting to market quicker, and having some pulse in everyone's wallet when they want to try it at some point in the future, instead of just being like, oh, I have my ARC-20s, but I can't do anything with them because I don't have any gas because it got taken away by freemium. It's just a vastly superior design decision to drop the freemium in light of the fact that they're already be diluted 1 million X. Technically a little bit more, but around 1
So what do you
X.
see happening? You have everything that you have on, including your HEX, on ETH being forked over and added to Pulse. You're going to have two chains with the similar assets. Can you talk about what you think is going to happen in terms of, maybe you could address HEX specifically? What's going to happen?
Question.
Sorry?
That is an absolutely beautiful question. I think
it's
going to
happen
a very
with
good
Price?
interview.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Hey,
From the people that you said
question.
were too dumb to understand the project.
Nah, you're smart. Come on. You can't be a poker pro and be too dumb. Unless you're Chris Moneymaker. Just kidding. So I believe, so if these two prerequisites are there, I predict insanity. And these two prerequisites would be a bridge to the Ethereum network. So if there's a bridge to the Ethereum network, so you can take ERC-20s and bridge them over onto the Pulse network.
Like Matic.
Like Matic, yes.
Okay.
Then, and I've got a separate team already building this pancake swap fork, which would allow you to take your bridged in ERC-20s and combine them with the free copies that you got on the Pulse network. You're getting half of the yield farming for free. And then you're backing the value of the stuff that you just got for free with your bridged in ERC-20s. That's sick. I mean, I think that could be the largest yield farming thing that's ever existed, because when have you ever gotten half of this pair for free? And it opens up like all the on-ramps and off-ramps. Like, you need to get in, bridge to Ethereum. You need to get out, bridge to Ethereum. And then I believe that other people will just directly support Pulse directly, right? Like, if you go to dharma.io, you can send fiat in and get HEX on the Matic network, which is called Polygon now, or you can get HEX on the Ethereum network. You can choose. And so the fiat on-ramps are now smart enough to know, hey, we can't pay a $20 penalty to on-ramp a user to Ethereum. Hey, you bought Ethereum? Okay, it's going to cost us $20 to send it to you. That sucks. It's absolute trash. So, and sometimes it's worse. I mean, 20 would be like average. Like sometimes it's 100. You want to on-ramp someone to Ethereum? Okay, that'll be $100. Oh, they need to buy through Uniswap? Okay, that'll be $300. It's untenable. So, but my point is, you could have the largest yield farming project and it solves all the fiat on-ramp, off-ramp stuff until people integrate directly. And then so let's say we live in a world where no one builds out front ends for the Pulse chain, which would be very easy for them to do because they just point to another network. It's the same code. It's Geth, same code, right? So it'd be very easy for them to do. But let's say they didn't want to do that. Well, that's fine, because there's going to be your coin with your ticker on our network, and I'm willing to bet that the price on this network moves up and down with the price on the ETH network. And then you're going to have a derivative play on the Pulse network with lower fees, higher transaction throughput, the same code. Hey, you like Uniswap? Great. The exact same Uniswap code's right here. I just think it's going to be insane. Like, oh, you want to make money on Link? Well, do you want to pay like $100 to try and make money on Link? Or do you want to pay like 20 cents to make money on Link? Because we got the Link ticker right here.
Yeah, so you think a lot of the HEX movement is going to move over to Pulse, and as well as a lot of the ETH movement, just because it's so much more efficient.
I mean, man, when you look at your first like $500 end stake fee and you're like, where's my $500 going? To go pay for electricity pollution? This sucks, right? I think a lot of people in the Ethereum ecosystem, Hexicans and not, will prefer to transact on PulseChain because the tokens are there. They're free. You change one setting in MetaMask, there's your tokens. Every token you love, there you go, right here. It's beautiful, man. It's really beautiful. And we're going to get to market a lot quicker now that, we got rid of that one actual pretty hard to do thing. Like, hey, let's rewrite everyone's balances. Yeah, that's really hard, actually. So glad we don't have to do that now.
Yeah, congrats on that. I'm excited to see it play out. Go ahead, Harrison.
One question I have about the fork, you're copying over existing projects, like say a project like Synthetics, which maybe they can't get enough throughput on Ethereum. They want to use your network instead. When they copy over, everything's
they need to build
be...
the front end. Like if the Synthetics guys want their users to be able to use the PulseChain network, someone has to. I mean, if it's an open source front end, it's quite easy. Like someone from the community just made a Uniswap front end for the PulseChain testnet, and it works, and that's it. Because it's very easy to do, because the Uniswap front end is open source. So for projects that have open source front ends, it's very easy to just point them at the PulseChain IPs instead of the Infura Ethereum IPs. It's very easy.
How are we sure those are secure that are going to be built on top?
It's the same code. Okay. It's like it's the same
because it's open source. So right, okay.
It's so almost entirely open source. Yeah.
My concern is that like the assets that are on Synthetics on Ethereum are the actual real assets, but when they fork over, they're going to be a bunch of fake assets.
Well, it's the same code, but yes, they're not the same values. So okay, what's a tether worth on Ethereum? Well, usually around $1, I guess. But what's it really backed by? Well, we know that it was fractionally reserved massively and still held its peg. So we know that stablecoins can be fractionally reserved and hold their pegs. Okay. Well, what if you have a stablecoin on Pulse, let's say Tether, it's backed by nothing. It's not redeemable for anything, but will it go to zero? I bet it won't go to zero. I bet it'll have some value. I don't know what the value is. I don't know. Now, look, those guys have admin keys. They could go and validate everything. But maybe the users sue the living crap out of them for taking their money. Don't know. It's going to be real exciting. It's going to be real amazing. So
I agree that it will have value because people like to show off money, and it's fake money, but they'll have some value in showing off, hey, I've got 100 million Tether worth in my wallet.
The thing is, you can't, with Uniswap, you literally can't actually trade something to zero. It's physically impossible.
Right.
So anything that has liquidity on Uniswap literally cannot trade at zero. It's impossible. So it is going to have some value. And with this yield farming thing, if that coexists at the same time the bridges do at launch, you're just like, the sky's the limit. Because think about how many hundreds of millions of dollars go into every stupid, dumb new yield farming thing. Every dumb new yield farming thing gets like a couple $100 million from plebs like Justin Sun, etc. Like 3 Arrows Capital and Justin Sun and some other tards will just ape into whatever. You're like, all right, good. I hope you don't get rug pulled. And you're just like, hey, I can make 20% on my stack, but you might lose your whole stack. Like, maybe don't do that on this unaudited code. So dumb.
Are you guys planning to prune any of the Ethereum history in the merge over to Pulse?
Sadly not. So it's just abusively, retardedly gigantic files that we're having to deal with, around 9 terabytes in size, and it really sucks. So, we made the design decision to bring over everything, and there's everything there. But if you're trying to, boot up a new node, sucks to be you. You'll be waiting a long time. But that's how it is.
So one of my main concerns about Pulse is, you've been berating Matic for having admin keys where technically they can steal all your money.
Oh yeah, I think we're going to be screwed on that as well. So I had made the assumption that the same logic that allows atomic swaps to transmit value trustlessly between two networks would obviously function for bridges. But then when you get down to the nuts and bolts of it, for some reason, it doesn't. I still am not exactly clear or sure why it doesn't, but the same atomic swap technology that allows you to do trustless transactions across chains doesn't work for bridges. Now, we might be able to figure it out and find a way to do it in a trustless manner, but it ain't worth delaying getting to market. People are losing millions and millions and millions of dollars and polluting millions and millions of dollars extra, more than needed. So it's more important that we get to market quicker than that we solve that issue. And
wait, can you clarify what the issue is exactly?
I am unaware of any in production trustless admin key free bridge. I am unaware of any in the entire world.
Oh, God.
It's not something you can copy paste. It's not something that exists. Everything boils down to some type of federation or admin key.
So
you're going to hate it. It sucks, but it's just where we're at.
So you're saying you're going to suffer from the same vulnerability that Matic has?
I believe so at the beginning, yes, as far as bridges are concerned. But look, who has that risk? People that use the bridge. Do you have to use the bridge? No. You can dump your E asset for your Pulse asset, and you have no bridge risk whatsoever. So if you don't like bridge risk, then don't bridge stuff in, and you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
No.
So my other question is, there was a swooping in at the last minute of the Pulse raise, where basically somebody took about 90% of the supply. Some entities or entity decided to swoop in and do that. So my question is, does them holding that many tokens on a proof of stake network represent a centralization risk? And if
they want to blow their brains out and run all the nodes themselves and outbid everyone else out of running a node and make that tiny little bit of extra yield by running all the nodes, but introduce centralization risk, why would they do that? BSC didn't do that. Go look at the BSC nodes. They're decentralized. You don't think CZ could just go in there and be like, hey, actually, I'm going to run all the nodes? He could, but why? It'd be worse for the network. So you think
you think he owns more than half the network?
No, I'm telling you he doesn't.
Half the tokens, I mean.
From what I've heard about the BNB ownership percentage breakdown, it's very, 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 very highly centralized. Extremely, massively highly centralized is what I hear. And once again, you can go on Etherscan and see that the top 100 addresses hold 95% or 94%. So what I'm saying is that your question is of the form, hey, if someone wanted to hurt their thing, could they hurt their thing? Yes, Elon Musk could decide to just make dildos instead of cars. He could do that.
Speaking of that, Bezos. Elon actually just sold some shares, right? He sold $5 billion worth, and he dumped the stock. So he did that because he had some obligations he needed to take care of. So whoever this holders are holding 90% of the tokens, they might have some priorities they need to take care of too at some point. Other than
how's Tesla stock doing? I mean, your argument right there was that like Tesla sucks, so fucking doom Tesla. How's Tesla doing? It dropped 20%, which put it back to like 3 or 4 weeks earlier price. Let's go look. Let's go see how Tesla's doing. So your brain still wants to say centralized ownership bad. You're stuck in that mode. But then when you look at the real world, centralized ownership good every single time.
Well, hold on. Let me make a distinction. Elon doesn't own 90% or 80%. He owns something like 10 or 20%, right?
Yeah.
That's a big difference between 80 and 20.
Okay. So who do you think has more power? The people that own more shares than Elon or Elon? Who do you think could do more to fuck that company up?
In terms of selling the people other than Elon?
No, Elon. You don't get it. Because you have... Okay. Shares are a scam. If you own 10% of the shares of your local Burger King, can you add an item to the menu? No. Can you change the hours? No. Can you reach into the till and grab a 20? No. You can't do anything. You suck. You're useless. Share ownership is trash. Doesn't mean anything. Directorship, being on the board of directors of the company, being able to hire and fire decision makers that have the ability to write checks from the corporate checking account, that has power. Elon has power over Tesla, and he has it because he's the CEO. He doesn't have it because he's a shareholder. His 20% shares ain't worth crap. Can't do anything with them. Can't even elect a new board member. Like, you need 51% control to do a lot of stuff. So first, any question of the form, why don't you just shoot your thing in the head, is a stupid question, right? And that is what most of these questions end up being. Like, why don't miners just 51% attack the network all the time? Well, because their mining equipment become worth nothing. Why don't proof of stake guys just abuse their validator status and 51% attack all the time, or not let anyone mine any blocks? Because then it would make their stake worth nothing. It doesn't make any sense. Like,
but in this case, Elon doesn't have any ill will towards Tesla, but he needed to sell some because he has other priorities in life. So couldn't that apply to whoever owns a bunch of HEX or a bunch of Pulse?
That's right. Yes, if you owned a lot of HEX, you could dump the price, and we see people do it all the time. We see the HEX price get dumped to shit, 70%, 80%, at least like 10 times so far. price gets murdered, rather often. You don't need to own 90% to murder the HEX price. You could own far less to murder it.
So do you think mainstream crypto
investors... And then how did that work out? It went up 1,000,000%. So like,
do you think mainstream like institutional crypto investors will ever be okay with one person owning 80% or one entity owning 80% of a token of an investment that they're making?
When was the best time to buy Bitcoin? When Satoshi owned 100%. So it depends on how smart they are. And what is exactly
your argument?
And by the way,
that we're pre-viral and that this gets more decentralized over time as the market cap grows, and then the origin address.
Look at that. Let's look at
percentage decreases over time.
Who's getting diluted right now? Who's getting diluted right now?
The non-stakers.
The origin address.
Yeah. And who's reaping the yield and the reward from that? The retail.
The stakers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
I think that was a clever move on whoever owns the majority of the supply, because
that was very game theory optimal there.
Tesla's. What do you think Tesla costs right now, by the way?
1,000.
1140.
Yeah.
1,100.
1140. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And its top was 1,300. Not even. Like there's barely a dip here. Like.
Yeah, so I mean, to me, one of the really genius parts of the design was that the origin address didn't stake to give higher APY to everyone else, which gives them more incentive and then dilutes their share. But then there's more incentive for people to adopt because they're earning a much higher APY, like let's say 8x, 9x higher APY because, or whatever, 7x higher because a large part of the tokens aren't staked. Yep. So that's a very smart part of the design. I have to give it to you.
Okay, listen to this. I appreciate the compliments. Yeah. Tesla's top 1243 today, 1140 as we speak. Tesla's down 8% from its all-time high. How's Bitcoin doing? Let's go look at Bitcoin real quick. Let's see how Bitcoin's doing versus its all-time high. Let me get a little measurement here.
But the Bitcoin's
down 14%. Well, yeah, that's true. The anonymous Bitcoin founder never sold any, apparently. Seems to have worked out okay for Bitcoin.
That is pretty OG.
Yeah, I think he's dead, but
Yeah, it almost seems increasingly.
By my calculations, though, about 12 years post HEX launch, the origin address will own about 56% of the supply, whereas right now Satoshi owns much less than that, somewhere in the less than 10% of the supply.
Okay, let's play a game theory game. You ready? Satoshi comes back from the dead, inflates magically by some code bug. Actually, not magically. There's been 2 inflation bugs in Bitcoin that would allow anyone to mint as many free Bitcoin as they wanted. So we'll just call it the 3rd inflation bug for Bitcoin. Satoshi comes back from the dead, executes Bitcoin's 3rd inflation bug, mints an extra 9x supply, and then locks it so it can never be spent. Now what?
I'm confused how he would come back and change the code. Sorry.
Well, it's just a bug. Bitcoin's had 2 other inflation bugs that allowed anyone to mint as many free Bitcoin as they wanted. So he just comes back and finds a 3rd one. You didn't know Bitcoin had those 2 problems?
I knew through you, actually. So. Okay.
So he just finds the 3rd one. He finds the 3rd one. The point of this exercise isn't to just make fun of Bitcoin, which is fun. It's to show you that a bunch of extra supply that doesn't reach the market doesn't do anything. The only thing price sees is the market supply. So if you inflate the living crap out of something's supply, but that supply never reaches the market, does it really exist? It's like Schrodinger's
that's a
supply.
fair point.
My whole counter argument is that people keep saying if you act in your best interest, that's good for the project. That's true, but sometimes their interests change. Like Elon might have an interest to go to Mars in the next 5 years, and he needs to sell his Tesla stock to do so.
Yeah,
and the origin address holder might decide I want to invest in longevity research.
So So we saw Elon dump his shares, and now the stock's down 8% and rising. So let's say Elon gave his shares to Jeff Bezos. Does the world end? Does Tesla still make cars? Why do you care so much who owns the shares? So it's like if someone divests of their shares and someone else then buys them, and there's some volatility, but then the volatility goes away, you're like, okay, now someone else owns them. So this idea, like, I can list you coins where founders didn't sell any, and I can list you coins where the founders sold the living crap out of it, and the price performance was still amazing. Because
I mean, you'd have to admit, though, if Elon owned 90% of the supply and he planned on dumping that over the next 5 years, that would be a huge headwind for the investors right now. Correct?
You don't know, because it's just a ratio of how many people are selling and how many people are buying. If there was so much demand for what was going on, he could divest of his entire position and the price could keep going up. See, you're playing this fan fiction theory parade of imaginary horribles where you're coming up with examples that have no root in reality and not a single example you can ever mention in your entire fucking life. So let's play this game. Name me the founder of a cryptocurrency that had product market fit, that had 100,000 users, that decided to shoot his project in the head. Just name me one instance of that across the thousands of tokens. I'll wait.
I'll say Dan Larimer, maybe?
No. I don't think Dan Larimer ever personally murdered the price of any of his tokens. EOS still runs. I mean, shit, I wouldn't be surprised if even, let's go look up BitShares price. Here we go. Hey, it's up 4% today. Well, let's take a look. So BitShares launches in 2015 at 25 cents. Today, it's 50 cents. You got a 2x. You did better than gold. There's BitShares. You want to look up any of his other projects? Or you want me to look at EOS? Let's look up EOS.
Gold's painful.
Yeah, I like when people like shill gold, and I'm like, yeah, it's down 4% over the last 10 years, and it's up 100% from 40 years ago. Kill yourself. Read the chart. I posted that chart today. Like, it couldn't be more obvious. I should have tagged Peter Schiff. All right, EOS.
Peter Schiff's going down with the ship.
Yeah,
what do you
EOS
think
launched
about...
at 270, and today it's 430 over 2018 to 2021. Also a Dan Larimer project. So, like, I don't see
another
the murder
project
here.
that seems similar to HEX is Wise, although
Law.
they have I'm curious. I'm not comparing you. I'm not saying. I'm curious to know what you think is distinct and why Wise has largely failed to get traction.
You literally can't afford to perform any functions because it's not gas optimized, so it costs you like $1 trillion to do anything. Okay. And let me go look up their price performance real quick, which is it
is abysmal. That price performance of Wise to ETH is quite amusing, except for the people that own Wise. But
yeah, they're just doomed. Like, so
right.
This dumbass thought, like, I run into people that think they're smarter than me, and then reality shows them they're not. So in the case of this particular piece of trash token, which has the worst chart I have ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it's quite amusing.
Let me measure this. Versus ETH, it's down 82%, and literally on the weekly chart has only made red candles for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, this is like a year. There's like a year of candles here. They're just all red.
The Wise to ETH chart is pretty amusing.
Yeah, it's going to be that way forever. It's not going to stop doing that. So someone on the offset looking at Wise, it's backed by ETH in a liquidity pool. They might think that has more value if they were looking at that and saying, well, at least this token is backed by something that has like value, which is ETH. What do you think is the distinction there? Hey, bro, here, let me give you this. You put your ETH into someone else's pocket, and he goes, hey, here's a fake coin, and I'm going to back this coin by your ETH minus my constant inflation, where I just keep minting this other token, and I sell into that same ETH that you try and sell into. And then you and the founder are both selling into the same pool of ETH, getting annihilated. And so you're just losing your ETH value slower over time, because what you thought was going to be successful in on-ramp new users instead didn't. And now you just have a time gate on how long it takes you to get your money back out with a tax from the inflation. That's it.
Pretty good description of Wise so far.
Yeah, that's it. So you thought you were going to get the next tax. Instead, you got screwed in your booty hole because you decided to join Team Loser instead of Team Richard. It's real easy. Like everyone that got scammed by that, I'm happy you all got scammed for being traders. Sorry. You didn't need to get scammed. You could have got the real one, but you bought the fake one. And it ain't the last time it happened. Somebody bought some other fake token that just got rug pulled. Like people not trying to knock off HEX and then getting rug pulled and it going to zero is a laugh.
Because that was one of my questions about the competitors of people trying to like, improve on the design.
Oh, no.
I was curious if you thought there was, okay.
Every single one of them. I know 2 that have gone to zero from being rug pulled, and they're just all trash. Every single time.
Are you the secret ingredient though to HEX's success? Is it really you?
Bro, who's got a better logo? Literally. Is Facebook's logo better than HEX's logo? Is Google's logo better than HEX's logo? Is Apple's logo better than HEX's logo? Apple? What do they sell? Fruit? Do they sell vegetables? What are they selling over there? No. HEX's logo is the best.
Presumably it's the
No, it's everything. I know you come from the best logo, marketing. The best price performance, the best founder, the best community, the most engaged community. Oh, let me give you this one. What do you think the average stake length is in HEX?
I learned from you it's about 4 years, but I would not have guessed
years now. 5.8 years. It used to be 4.8 a year ago. Now it's 5.8 and it keeps going up. What do you think happens when people lock their money up for 5.8 years? You think you get a lot of defectors? You think you get a lot of traders? You think you get a lot of people trash talking their own bags? No. What you get is the most dedicated, insane, vibrant community that defends to the death HEX, which, by the way, has had 100% perfect, flawless operation where everything else has gotten wrecked all around it. Ravencoin, 10% inflation bug. Lumens, 10% inflation bug. Monero, oops, if you spent it within 2 hours, it wasn't actually anonymous. Bitcoin, 2 inflation bugs. I could go down the list. It's a joke. HEX has
I want to give you credit for that.
Every way.
You actually spent a lot of time on the audit and you delivered a flawless product that hasn't ever had any bugs or issues in its existence. And no other project that I know of can actually say that. So you really deserve credit for that.
Yeah, well done.
You spent.
We put a lot of work into it, and it was worth it, because if you don't have security, what do you have? There's nothing more important.
Especially in an immutable smart contract.
Yep.
Yeah, it does create this really interesting game theory too, where like it incentivizes people to lock up their liquidity for a long period of time, and that's the most dedicated vote of conviction is locking up liquidity in a project. And delaying your time preference for 4 to 5 to 7 to, I know there's the 5555 club.
There's never been anything like it in the history, bro. To get an average of 5.8, you got to have a lot of really long ones. To get an average of 5.8, you got to have a lot of really long ones.
You have to have 15-year stakes because you have people that are not staked at all. So of course that dilutes the average. So yeah, you have, a lot of people that are
I don't think that the unstaked people affect that average. It's just the average people that have staked. So the unstaked amount.
Even still, you have a lot of people that are doing a year, which is still a huge vote of confidence to lock up money for a year into a crypto project, especially in this market environment.
I think it's Nobel Prize worthy. I am unaware of any financial instrument that has ever caused people to delay gratification to such a degree, ever. If you buy a house, you can get out. If you buy a bond, you can get out. You lock up your HEX for 15 years, you ain't getting your principal out for 7.5.
That's something I wanted to ask about. There's a lot of HEX holders that have a ton of value in their HEX stakes that go out many, many years. Have you thought about making them somehow able to access that liquidity in the form of a loan with the staked HEX as a collateral asset?
And then people get to discover what liquidation means, because there is price volatility. And then those liquidations turn into what? Market sells. So you want to get leverage, you want to get loans, go encumber some other asset that's not your HEX. That's what I'd prefer.
So you realize there's liquidation risk, which would be catastrophic. So you don't want there to be a way to borrow against staked
Well, it wouldn't
HEX.
necessarily be catastrophic. It's still a ratio of how many people are on-ramping to how many people are off-ramping. But and I do see eventually there will be encapsulated stakes, and encapsulated stakes will allow you to get the liquidity you want while still earning sick yield. So, that code's already written. I think it's already open sourced. A guy named Firebun wrote it. And I would like to see it deployed on other chains to give those other chains a reason for being. Hey guys, your chain doesn't suck as much anymore because HEX is here now. So congrats.
Wait, are you describing software that would allow you to borrow against your HEX that's staked?
Well, it would make it tradable. So right now, if you have a HEX stake, you can't trade it. But if you trade shares in a giant HEX stake, so someone makes a giant HEX stake, and then you have shares in it that you can trade. They're like bonds. So then, it would allow you to encumber and allow to be liquidated and do all those other things. Like you could take your HEX bonds and, maybe like there's some interesting game theory, like, if Compound or AAVE or AAVA or whatever it is, decides to like make their front ends operate on PulseChain,
right?
There's a chance that they just enable some new assets which are also on PulseChain, like maybe HEX, maybe Pulse, and maybe encapsulated, stakes, and then you could get all of that leverage and options and all that other crap you want on your stakes. And then to the tier 1, to the layer 1 HEX system, you would just see increasing stake lengths, because people may open up a 15-year stake that they're selling shares in, and then you've got the counterparty, the smart contract risk of the encapsulation, but you also have more flexibility, like you can get out. But to the tier 1 HEX system, it's just going to look like Grayscale, basically. Like Grayscale is a system where it only buys Bitcoin and never sells it, and then it brings in money that otherwise wouldn't have come in from legacy finance. That's awesome. Well, an encapsulated HEX stake is quite similar in that it just buys the HEX and pretty much never sells it, because it's probably going to be a 15-year stake that they're sharing in, and then I believe will be good for price. So
I like that you built a system that encourages people to delay time preference, because that's one of the biggest mistakes people make, is they have this like marshmallow problem where they eat the marshmallow instead of delay.
Especially in crypto. You sold on a 10x. Oops. You sold on a 10x. You thought you were smart. Oops. Oh, you sold on a 100x. You thought you were smart. Oops. HEX did a 10,000x. So so far, and we're pre-viral. Like truly, like no one's ever heard of it. And it's very hard to buy.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think are the steps in order for HEX to get, let's say, where you would describe it to be viral? Because I know you've mentioned multiple times it's pre-viral, which is pretty insane given its price performance.
Yes.
How do you see it getting to virality, and what do you see that looking like?
Well, I mean, I did an interview with Zuby, and then Faraz
I saw that.
saw me, and then Faraz wants to do an interview, so we're going to do one. And then as more people that have been on Joe Rogan see me, then more other people that have been on Joe Rogan will see me, and then Joe will see me, and I'm fun to talk to, so it's likely we'll have a chat.
Yeah, I agree.
And then Lex Friedman wants to have a chat, and then I'm doing all this fancy crap. Like I just randomly buy, like this is €1,000. My pants are €1,000. I just buy stuff that's just retarded. Hey, look, a Louis Vuitton yoga mat. I don't do yoga, but lol, I didn't own it. I got a Louis Vuitton mirror here. What is this? This wildly overpriced Louis Vuitton mirror. Like where am I going to go that I need to hang a mirror? Doesn't make any sense, right? But I'm like, hey, I don't own that. I've already like emptied their stores across 10 different countries. So like if it fits me, I already bought it. I'm just, so I'm scaling socially, I'm driving the Ferrari around. We got a documentary coming out. I don't know if you've seen the preview. Have you seen the preview?
I have. I follow the guy on Twitter that does it.
What do you think?
I stay up to date.
What do you think? What it look like?
It looks impressive. I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yeah. And so, we've got this big gathering coming up. It's called HEX731gathering.com, where, they're going to be shooting more content for the documentary. I'm going to be there. There's VIP stuff, all this fancy stuff.
Where is it? Go ahead and plug.
London. It's in London.
Okay.
On December 2nd. So, I think they might get enough material there to like finish the documentary, which I would love. They kind of want to do pulse launch stuff, but I hate the idea of waiting for software to be finished to do things, because software is notoriously very hard to predict timing on, because you have unknown unknowns that you just can't reason about until you get closer to them. So these types of things are what make things go viral. And like, I think the majority of new users to HEX, they don't come from my efforts whatsoever. I mean, I just started doing live streams again. I took like months off because got COVID, and then, was driving every day, put 6,000 kilometers on the Ferrari it took 80 hours to do that. And that was maybe over, I don't remember how many months, 2.5 months maybe.
I saw some of the escapades. That's cool.
Yeah. So
are you taking a page out of like Ty Lopez's book and then flaunting some wealth to kind of get mainstream interest? Is that what you're doing?
Well,
there,
it's everybody's page. It's his and everybody else's page. Because you could, you know, it's rumored that I'm a billionaire, but for some reason people just don't buy it. They need to see it. So usually I'll have a few $1 million of watches here, you know, just rotating through all this different stuff. But once again, like my personal efforts are really, really, really the minority of on-ramping of new users. The majority of, like, you know, people put me on the phone with guys that have hundreds of millions of dollars. I never heard of these people before in my life. And so other Hexicans somehow have found pockets of very wealthy people and just on-ramp tons and tons of users on their own. You know, the majority of HEX streams aren't mine. The majority of HEX on-ramps aren't mine. The majority of HEX ads aren't mine. Like, they're just everybody else's. Like, everybody's doing all of that work. And, you know, when you look at the timing of when things tend to kick off, it's around this number of years. It's existed. So many people have become millionaires. The performance has been so perfect with 100% uptime that now is historically when things start to go insane, around this timing. So if you look at,
you're talking about Bitcoin and Ethereum in their past performance.
I mean, everything. Right. Like, even scams. It seems like scams tend to kick at like 2 years is when they go like, wow. That's when they take off. So the timing is there, the performance is there, the branding is there, the messaging is there, the education is there. I mean, I learned things from Hexicans. They're smart. You're like, okay, I didn't think of it that way.
For sure. I mean, like you said, you're a polarizing figure, obviously. And I think this is probably the most polarizing project that exists. And I'm not into every crypto project, but
you know it's funny. You know, it's funny. I designed this to do a 10,000x in 2.5 years.
Yeah, you called it too. I've seen that interview where you called it before it happened. I was like, that's pretty impressive.
And then, like, it happened.
Yeah,
where are my apologies? Incredible. Where are my apologies? How many people demonized me and said I was the worst person ever and all these other things, and you're just like,
I wanted to ask you your thoughts. I mean, I try and read people and whatever. I think you seem like a good person. You seem like your heart's in the right place.
You know, I raised 27 million for charity, right?
I know. I wanted to talk to
Nobody
you about
else did
Sens because
me.
I love Aubrey de Grey. I love Aubrey de Grey. I've read his book. I love the whole thing. I wanted to get into that at the end. You seem like your heart's in the right place. You're doing the right thing. Why the constant, like, skepticism? Like, what is it that people don't get?
Well, they don't like the truth.
What would you say to those people? Like,
what
is it that they don't get?
I said this is designed to appreciate in value. Scam! You're like, okay, which cryptos aren't designed to appreciate in value? Okay, stable coins and what else? Okay, everything is designed to appreciate in value. That's why there's the halvening. Okay. So why am I being yelled at by you dum-dums? I'm the one telling the truth. The obvious truth that everyone obviously knows. Why am I being yelled at? You know? I just... And by the way, people hate Vitalik. They still hate him to death. They think he's like the master scammer or something. These Bitcoiners just absolutely hate Vitalik.
The Bitcoin maxi community is
what
ruthless.
did Vitalik do? Like, he
on-ramped
millions of users. He writes open source software. He solved basically on-chain exchange, which is massive. Like, you're just like, what more do you want from the guy? You know, I mean, he barely even eats food. He has minimal environmental impact. He also donated a few $1 million for the Sens Foundation. So he's out there trying to save people's lives. And you're just like, what's wrong with these people? You know, he put his money where his mouth is and tried to save people's lives. I put my effort and raised 27 million to save people's lives. And then anyone that's not, shut up. And by the way, there's some guys that have like, oh, let's cure aging. And, you know, they have this in their bio, like Balaji and some guy named like QIO or something. Screw you guys. When I was raising 27 million for Sens, you guys didn't say a single damn thing. Nothing. But you're going to cure aging in your bio. Show me the donations. Why didn't you link? Why didn't you say anything when we had that fundraiser going? Scumbags. So if you're in the longevity community and you didn't say anything about the PulseChain launch, you are a scumbag, because who knows how many people that want to support medical research would have donated because they got something free in return. Screw all you guys. And when I see you in person, and I will, I'm going to call you out to your face about it. It's disgusting. I'm here trying to save your life and you can't drop a link. Scumbags.
Yeah,
and the guy that runs Longevity Market Cap too. Screw you too, buddy. Let me know when you raise some millions for Sens.
I'm a big fan of longevity research. I've listened to what you said, but I've also read Aubrey de Grey, like solving these problems of curing diseases only extends life by 3-4 years. You're going to die anyway of something else. The real solution is extending life and curing aging, which is like a first principle approach to solving disease.
100%.
Kudos for what you're doing.
100%.
Especially one thing I tweeted the other day too. I'm like, if you're a billionaire, like you can buy everything except your time. So like, why would you not spend a large portion of your money buying back the only commodity in the world that you can't get more of? Like all of your money should go to curing aging because you're gonna fucking die.
Yes, and then everyone tweets. They're like, the most important thing is time. Elon tweets it. Founder of Compound tweets. You're just like, guys, hey,
I don't understand. Yeah, wake up.
I've got this figured out. So like, I volunteered for Sens back in 2005 or 6. I've been
good. Yeah,
you know, like, we have the ability to make progress. Let us deploy the capital to do it. It doesn't have to be a charity. You can still get rich. You can still startups in the space. You can still do synthetic biology stuff. You can still get rich as heck doing it. Let's put our money where our mouth is and save our own freaking lives. And if it doesn't work out for us, it'll work out for our kids.
Exactly. I totally agree. I mean, it's like you said, if you don't, we have $1 billion, like what is it you're going to do with it except try and extend life, yours or everyone else's that you care about, right? Your kids, your grandkids. Yeah. So kudos for that. I think that's a really cool project. And
so let me give you let me brag a little bit. Called the 2018 top on the day.
Wait,
Called
I got to
the 2021
there,
top.
Richard.
Go ahead.
I was watching you in 2017 in December, and you were bullish around the top.
Yes, that's right. And it went up.
So how do you say you called the top there?
Because you're bullish until the top, and then on the top you get bearish. So yes, right around the top I was bullish. And then when the top hit, I put a picture of a guy crying, didn't get any likes, said that the premiums are too high on the futures, said that the funding was too high on the perps, did everything I could to show, hey, this is a top, and I was right. And in 2020, are you going to doubt my 21? Well, first of all, you don't need to doubt or question any of this at all, because my facts, if you go to richardhart.com and click the Twitter links that are timestamped, my facts that are timestamped beat your memory.
So when did you actually turn bearish, though?
Let's
After
go.
The top?
Let's go look it up. richardhart.com. Here we go. Let's go look up these dates. Because I hate when I call the top and people tell me I was bullish and got wrecked. You're like, what? No, I know when my all-time high net worth was, and it surely went up after the top. So,
to be fair, you did call Bitcoin to 10K during this cycle. Are you still on that wavelength?
Well, now it's 11K because an 85% drop from 69 is 1K higher than an 85% drop from 65. So now my bottom call would be 11K.
You're still bearish.
Believe in it. Yeah.
You're still bearish. Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Why
Do
not?
you not take into account all the on-chain stuff with the long-term holders, like locking up tons of supply and not selling?
When didn't we have that? We've always had that during all the other 85% drops too. That's never gone away. That's always been there. Doesn't matter. These are reflexive systems. People buy because they go up. They sell because they go down. It went down more than 50%. It fell out of the parabola. When things fall out of parabolas, they drop 85%. If it wants to do something different and not do the 85% drop, fine. But what am I going to miss out on? A little 20% gain? Like what baby crap garbage gains does Bitcoin have to offer that I even care about? The only reason I talk about it is because people care. But like the actual price performance would be 100% abysmal no matter what. How'd that Taproot improvement go? Oh, only down? Price only went down from then? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I guess they got too overhyped. But typically whales distribute during the bull market phase, and then eventually it peaks. But whales haven't started to distribute in a large part yet. So that's why people are
like, it doesn't matter if you get an emergent whale from 10,000 plebs selling or like a real whale selling. Like I don't think that distinction matters. Where would you like me? You want me to put this in the Zoom chat? Here, let me put this in the Zoom chat for you.
Sure.
Chat. Here you go. There's me calling the top in 20. Oh, well, I guess these are pictures. So if the tweets get deleted, let's look here. Should have included the actual link too. So this was December 19th of 2017. And let's go look at the price on December 19th of 2017. Oh, by the way, here's my other top call for 2021, which was 100%
I actually think I
accurate.
coincidentally sold on that day. I remember, Harrison, I talked to you about this. I actually think I sold around the 18th, the 17th, or the 19th. I think I was right there too. I didn't time the buyback in as well on coming down on the bottom, but I
mean, the bottom was weird, like a bump and run bottom with no
called
capitulation candle was weird, right?
I hope that you're.
By the way, I called 60K. Huh?
Was that link that you sent was from 2021? What
Yeah, but you got to look at the pictures. See, my thing is, like, if my account gets deleted or the tweet gets deleted, I want the record to still be there. So I took screenshots of the tweet. So if you're doubting the authenticity of the screenshot, I'll just search the text.
So you got bearish after the top is what you're saying, right? Slightly after the top?
I literally highlighted the point on the chart in the first picture where the tweet occurred.
Okay,
So
yeah, I guess we just don't have the tweet record is what you're saying, though.
Well, no, I'll just Google, I do not like the long-short ratio. So Twitter, I do not like the long-short ratio from : Richard Hart win.
I just wanted to clarify that.
Here's the original.
Before we hit 20K, you thought we were going higher. It's 40K or something on those lines.
No. My fans, no one liked me being bearish, so I trolled and was like, oh, Bitcoin 25K or 50K or something. I was trolling. Yeah. So what are you going to take more seriously? What I say on live stream and what I charts of and what I predict, or my username that I changed for like a day to troll everybody? Like,
I thought you genuinely believed it was going to 50, 40, or 50K, but that was just my perception watching you.
Yeah, but look at the tweet. Look at the tweet, bro. I want you to understand I called the top.
Back then, so I missed that, unfortunately.
Bro, like, this fucking tweet still only has, bro, let me tell you, this tweet still only has 54 likes. I called the top in 2017. It still only has 54 likes.
That's crazy.
You couldn't get it more right. And then look at my call in 2021. I called that on the day. I'm like, hey, Coinbase launch, same as CME launch. Top.
Yeah, you get full credit for that, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
And it dropped 55% from there. So, like, okay. So this was me trying to brag.
So
called the
you
top
don't think
in 2018.
We have more coming in this bull cycle?
Bro.
With institutional money?
Hey, you got the world's richest guy to buy. You got an Israeli pension fund to buy. You got the Shark Tank guys to buy. Jimmy Fallon has a picture of a monkey as his profile pic.
Yeah, the NFTs.
Some popular singer has the same stupid monkey picture or similar. What more do you want to have it overheated? All the fees are $50 to send anything. What thing could I add to this to show you that it's too overheated?
I guess I just usually see like parabolic uprise. I would expect, like we saw in 20.
We had that.
Yeah.
You went from 88 to 5,000 on Ethereum. You went from 3,800 to 69,000 in Bitcoin. Is that not parabola enough for you? It was like a year and a half to do that.
Yeah.
We did a 50x in Ethereum in a year and a half, and you did like like a 10x or 15x in Bitcoin? How shitty is that, by the way? You get like a 50x in Ethereum, you get like a 15x in Bitcoin.
I wanted to talk to you about why do you think HEX is the reason that HEX is able to go up so quickly because there's so little liquidity? Is that the main reason?
Yeah. Yes.
So then my question is, like, how can billionaires get into HEX in a big way if there's so much slippage? Do they have to go OTC, and where would they ever do that?
Limit orders. Yeah. You just hope the market comes to you. So
then my follow-up to that is like, is the reason HEX is so performing so well because of the liquidity, and is therefore its success ultimately going to be its Achilles heel because there will be so much more liquidity, then it can't go up as much in price, correct? Just like Bitcoin, like its success ultimately leads to worse price performance. The higher it goes,
yes, that's how that works.
The worse. Okay.
Yeah.
So like, once HEX overtakes Bitcoin, if that ever happens, eventually it could get into trillions of market cap. And at that point, there's so much liquidity that it stops being able to perform as well, right?
Well, I don't think trillions of market cap would be enough to do that. HEX will be the project that shows you how stupid market cap is. You'll be like, oh, market cap is really stupid. It's a dumb idea.
I've had some very smart friends tell me something similar where they're like, they got caught in the market cap trap of saying, well, this project's already 3 billion. The fully diluted is this billion. Therefore, I'm out. And they have rescinded their idea about that.
Yeah, it's very stupid. I mean, okay, fully diluted. Yeah, when does that happen? Oh, is it anywhere near your investment horizon? Okay, well, then it doesn't matter. It's just like I said, Satoshi comes along and 10x the supply and locks it to what changes in the world. So a bunch of extra supply that never hits market during the part where you care totally doesn't mean anything. By the way, let's talk about Elon. Let's say you got into Tesla at $1, got out at 1,000, and now Elon sells. What do you give a shit? His time preference was longer than yours, and now you got out before him, and so what do you care what he does? You just care that you got in and you got out. So if you have somebody that has a big bag and their time preference is longer than yours, it's irrelevant. It doesn't have any effect on you whatsoever. So the issue with market cap is you cannot make money on it. You can't place bids in the market cap chart. You can't place asks on the market cap chart. The market cap chart will not fill your orders. It's meaningless. It's stupid. So, like, I don't care how much reduction and scammery and crap that you do to HEX to reduce its market cap. Is like, the price just keeps tending to go up, and that market cap's just going to keep tending to go up. So, let's remove origin coins, even though they move around sometimes, or technically coins that had once been in the origin. Fine. Okay. Market cap gets cut in half, which was what Coin Paprika did. And then you go look now.
I mean, your point is if the coins are illiquid, having them there doesn't really matter. The effect is not. I get that.
It would just affect market cap on sites that counted it as circulating, like they do for Satoshi. Satoshi's coins, which have never moved, are counted as circulating. Why? Because most things in crypto are a god darn scam. That's why. They're obviously not circulating. They have not ever moved. Why are they being counted as circulating supply? Disgusting. Yeah, so like they only count half of HEX's supply, and yet it's still number 5 market cap. So
why isn't it listed as higher on CoinMarketCap?
Because they're scumbags and they got sued for it, and that's in progress. So
I saw that lawsuit on Twitter.
Yeah, they are scumbags.
So your argument
HEX is not the only project that is being treated unfairly by that website. There are lots of other projects which belonged on page 1 and 2 that are instead on page 3. HEX is not the only one. They're just scumbags. No, I can't be.
I calculated that HEX is going up around 40 to 50 times in appreciation more than Bitcoin or Ethereum per dollar invested. And I think a large part of that is like the low liquidity. And I think that kind of speaks to Alex's point as to why Wise hasn't done so well. There's 100 million plus liquidity there, and they can't ever get anything going because of that amount of liquidity. So I guess my concern was long-term, if you become so successful that there actually is liquidity, you're on all these exchanges.
Well, you have to understand liquidity with limit orders and Uniswap V3, it's not all symmetrical liquidity back in like it was back in the V2 days. So, you can add just single-sided liquidity on your Uniswap V3. It's not like V2 where you have to add to both sides. And limit orders are the same way. You can set your limit orders as just bids or just asks or both or however you like. You can do that at 1inch.io or Matcha.xyz. So, it's really like, I know this is going to sound basic to you, but you've forgotten it. Supply and demand. You want more demand. You want less supply. It's that easy. So take Bitcoin. Bitcoin's original sales pitch, peer-to-peer digital cash, failed entirely. Oops, let's change it. Programmable money, failed entirely. Try and program it to wake you up in the morning. You can't. Oops, it's trash. Okay. So then what's next? Digital gold. Keep rotating through sales pitches. Same with Ethereum. Ethereum was unstoppable world computer. Then it was DAOs. Then it was, now we're money. And now it's what, NFTs? Well, they keep changing that sales pitch a lot. HEX's sales pitch never changes. You delay gratification, you get rewarded with the same stuff that you locked up. You get more of it. You lock it up, you get more later, you delay gratification. Sales pitch never changes.
That is true. It's very consistent. Does HEX overtake BTC?
What metric?
Um,
I mean, look, they've got
amount
a
of
lot more
capital
users.
invested in HEX.
They've got a lot more users. They've got billionaires, more billionaires buying. I'm not sure if I know we've got 100 millionaires in, but I'm not sure if we have billionaires in HEX. You know, but that's where the opportunity is. Like all these things that I'm quoting you that Bitcoin has better, that's why there's so much opportunity. Like if HEX had as many users as Bitcoin, there'd be less opportunity. If we had as much liquidity, it'd be less opportunity. So, you know, all the things that we look at that could be better, that's the reason why the price performance, I believe, can be so insane. Like for instance, CoinMarketCap gatekeeping the third page because they're just retards. Great, good. That's more opportunity for people to get in today because maybe one day that gate falls. You know, maybe PulseChain causes a lot of these gates to open up. We'll see. So someone's chat says, what's the easiest way to buy HEX? I don't know that there's an easy way. You can go to dharma.io. There's a referral link if you want to go to like t.me/HEX news. You can go to Hexican.store, or really you can just buy any other crypto and like swap it around until you.
Yeah, that's probably right.
Like, so go to hex.com/buy.
How does it get easier to buy HEX over time? Do you see it becoming easier to buy to help
now,
onboard more people?
I mean, you could do a. I'm working on starting exchanges, but it's slow going. It's very slow going.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I've seen exchanges add absolute trash to their lineups. I've seen Coinbase add absolute trash. I've seen other websites add absolute trash. So there's always that chance that they decide to add something good with 100% flawless, perfect operation for years, like HEX. That's always in the lottery. But I mean, in the end, really, if you can get Ethereum, you can get HEX. It's that easy. So you get MetaMask, you buy Ethereum somewhere, you go to 1inch.io or Matcha.xyz, you swap your Ethereum for HEX, you're done. That's it. You know, if you've got Bitcoin, you can use bridges to swap your Bitcoin into Ethereum, like runproject.io.
There is a little bit of technical understanding, though, to use Uniswap or something like that.
Look, it'd be ideal.
It requires a little bit.
Sure. Look, right now you can buy HEX on Matic and on the Ethereum network through dharma.io, dharma.io. And that's, you know, one of the easier ways to do it. I also am aware of a credit card integration coming up with the largest crypto credit card processor. When that's done, you know, it'll ease people's credit card on-ramping. But still, you'd kind of, you know, if you want to buy in with like $1 billion. Here's the thing, right? Like if you're going to buy in with $1 billion, I think you're going to get better order execution buying Ethereum or USDC and swapping it on chain than if it was just listed directly on your exchange with a thinner pair. So as long as Uniswap's the most liquid order book in the world, it's where you really need to end up executing your order anyway. And so just get USDC or Ethereum and do it on chain with less counterparty risk, less AML, KYC, just better. It's just better. So, I mean, it would be nice for all the dum-dums that don't even use wallets and they just buy on exchange and hold on exchange. It would be nice for them to be able to on-ramp to HEX. You know, right now, it's not so easy.
Presumably, though, those people are going to want to stake, or a large portion of them are going to want to stake. So, like, you know, you would think they would have to have the technical knowledge.
There's a lot of people that, you know, they buy Ethereum Classic because they think it's Ethereum. They buy Bitcoin Cash because they think it's Bitcoin. That's a dumb thing. Right. They really think, oh, it's the same thing with an extra word. There is a lot of those dum-dums. And, you know, for them, for that level of stupid, you really would like a direct kind of fiat buy HEX and hold it on the exchange.
Yeah, that's fair.
And eat all the counterparty risk.
Richard, do you think that when the Pulse network was launched, that a lot of people bought HEX thinking that they would instantly double their money?
Right. I was going to ask you that.
Well,
as soon as Pulse launched, obviously.
I didn't see that much of that narrative. That may have been maybe 5% of the narrative, maybe, if I've seen it in chat. I think, like, I don't know. I mean, people, when they buy, they don't send you a note and tell you why they did it, you know? Like, it's actually hard to tell why, like, people do what they do. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm pulling a number out of my ass. I'm taking a guess. But here's the question. Isn't that kind of a reasonable assumption? You're going to have coins on 2 chains. Okay. What are they going to be worth? Like, let's take a look at this. The Uniswap, let's say all the Uniswap liquidity on the bid side is like, I don't know, 10 million bucks or something like that. So what if someone put another 10 million bucks as bid side liquidity on PulseChain side? Why wouldn't your coin value double? Seems like
if there was liquidity on Pulse, then you could exit your position on Pulse through the new liquidity that comes in to the new Uniswap that's being built on Pulse.
I think that so it's like a game theory question. Like nobody
that would be
knows,
kind of insane, right? Like, I mean, in some ways it does make sense that it's not going to be divided in half, right? Like, let's say you have $1,000 in HEX. It's not like you're going to have 500 and 500. You should have more than 1,000.
Well, here's the thing. If it was a stock split and you added more units against the same liquidity pair, then you could say there might be downward price pressure. But it's not. It's a whole new chain with a whole new liquidity pair. And so whatever you got on Pulse, you can't dump on ETH.
Exactly.
Chain. And so like if the liquidity on the bid side is the same across the 2 networks, it kind of seems reasonable. Like, I mean, look, I don't have a crystal ball, right? Like,
no, nobody knows.
Fair. These are guesses. This has never been done
might not
before.
double, but it might be like 70% of the 2x value.
It might be
like
more
than 1x.
It might be more because there's so much extra utility added with not having a $50 penalty to on-ramp a new user through Uniswap.
Yeah.
You want to on-ramp a new HEX user through Uniswap? Okay, that'll be an $80 penalty.
Right.
So it costs $80 to get started, and then we could, as you add more, then you actually get some credit. That sucks. So,
it does.
You know, I think PulseChain can make a really, really, really positive impact on the world. It could help a lot of Ethereum users.
I think you're right that there is a value add to having a faster network to do the transactions more cheaply in HEX. And that value might be greater than double the original value of HEX.
It might. I mean, the game theory of HEX is very, very deep and very interesting. As a poker player, I got to say it's one of the most fascinating things. I think it's probably the project I think the most about.
You know what I think you would appreciate is if you go to hex.com/techspecs, I think you'd really appreciate that page. Because I get these analogies on point. If you understand Bitcoin, I'm going to show you. Here's how HEX is like Bitcoin. Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of really cool analogies in there that you won't see anywhere else. For instance, we actually, you can calculate a market cap for the amount of HEX that's protecting the price. Like how much staked HEX. It's like there's cool other new kind of terms that are brought to life on that page.
So how long?
You won't see anywhere else.
Thank you. I'll check it out. And how long do you have this copying? When is the time cutoff, the snapshot, to get your HEX or all of your ETH onto Pulse?
Well, our next big milestone is the version 2 of the testnet, which is going to show people's balances or rough balances for their sacrifices. And then if that works well and everybody's front ends work, go to hex.com. Front end works on both chains. We got a working Uniswap front end, optional bridge, optional pancake swap fork. We can go to market, So
you're saying as early as, let's say December, you're going to have.
I mean, look,
right.
Month and
but
a half,
at that point, if you buy afterwards, your HEX will not be on Pulse if you were to buy after the snapshot.
Well, sure, yeah. Like once the fork happens,
right?
And it's hard to. It's like people ask, is it a snapshot or a fork? You're like, it's kind of both. It's too hard to explain. It's actually like complex. It's kind of both.
That's fair. I guess the point is that for people watching, the cutoff date.
Yeah, there's a date at which you're not going to get stuff on 2 chains anymore.
And that's happening in the next, let's say, 2 weeks to month.
No, month and a half to 2 months. I mean,
okay,
look, we don't even have, you're not getting to mainnet until you've got testnet version 2, which is the next thing we're releasing. So, let's see testnet version 2. Let's see working go.hex.com working on testnet. Let's see working Uniswap working on testnet, which we already have. And then... okay, let's look at bridges real quick, see where we're at. Let's look at the pancake swap, see where we're at. And then let's set a date for the fork in the future, And you set that date once you saw everything was working well. But until you see these things working well, you don't set that date because it's just a made up date. Like there's
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's a good approach.
Yeah.
This was cool, Harrison.
It was
you have
really
any
good,
questions?
man. This
thank you.
was a really good interview.
Guys, we haven't yeah,
Can I
so
do my last question?
Go ahead. Shit.
Richard, do you worry that like your two biggest goals, which are basically extending life, curing aging and disease, and creating basically the best performing asset of all time, do you think those things might at any point be at odds with one another? In other words, it will be hard to sell HEX in order to fund research for these other goals and still
it's rumored that I have a whole lot of assets that aren't HEX. So, and it's rumored that I'm a very busy guy. So there may I don't know when I would ever need to sell HEX. The amount of capital that I have undeployed is absolutely silly. I have a capital deployment issue. And the capital that I do deploy just generates more capital. So it's like my problem of not using the money I have gets larger. So the parade of imaginary horribles questions are always meh.
And then my last thing is what would be the elevator pitch for why Pulse is better than say, Solana or AVAX or any of these other competitors?
Yeah. Solana, how many smart contracts got? Not much. Why? Got to write them in their own made up language. Oh, their network went down. Totally. Oops. Found the lead guy, which by the way, they've also had hidden supply that they didn't tell anyone existed that they gave to a market maker. And you're like, yeah, scammy sounding. And then the guy that runs the network's like, yeah, we don't really care if it goes down again. To quote an article today. Well, that all sounds kind of crappy, right? It's like every L1 Ethereum thing is doing well because Ethereum's dying to fees currently. So every other L1 Ethereum thing is doing well currently because the fees are too high, right? So, what else? Did Solana have the world's largest airdrop to on-ramp zillions of users all at once? Nope. Does it have a derivative play on the value of every ERC20 because those same ticker symbols with the same code will be on their network? Nope. Doesn't have any of that. So, I think the value proposition for Pulse is vastly higher than any of the other Ethereum killers I can think of.
My biggest sticking point is just that there's one entity that put in so much of them. They own around 90%, and they could technically freeze, censor, roll back the chain, steal funds. They could print new tokens.
Okay. Hey,
so
let's play that game, bro. You want to know who else can do that? Every single mining network, every single pool. You want to know how many pools actually mine the blocks on your favorite proof of work chain? 3 or 4? Okay. And how often have those 3 or 4 guys decided to just screw themselves in the butt and just stop processing transactions for lulz? It's never happened. All your parade of imaginary horrible questions go the same place. They have absolutely no root in reality nor example that has ever occurred. Never.
Yeah, it wouldn't make much sense to debase your own net worth through a hack.
But the person could lose their keys. They could get their keys stolen, right?
Yeah, and then the community could fork away their coins because they're socially enforced networks. Just like the government were to try and attack Bitcoin and just start mining blocks. You'd be like, okay, we don't count the government blocks as valid. We're doing a proof of work change now. We no longer accept whatever the government miners are doing. They're socially enforced networks.
In your defense, they're doing that on EOS right now. They're basically forking out block 1 from the token.
Good. Good. Socially enforced network. Go to town, So, yeah. I mean, look, I wish I had more exciting answers for the parade of imaginary horrible questions, but they're not going to happen. All of these imaginary things, they don't happen. Let me give you some more imaginary things. Why doesn't the government just make Bitcoin illegal? That shit was around for how many years? How many years did I have to listen to that stupid crap? Hey, why doesn't the government just send a drone strike to every node operator? Right? Why not? Hey, why don't all the SHA-256 miners just change the payouts? It's just a parameter. Instead of having 6.25 BTC block rewards, just make it 50 or 62.5. Why not? Hey, why doesn't Blockstream just inject bad code that half the nodes would just run for a laugh? I mean, I could sit here all day with the stupid, imaginary, horrible questions. Hey, why doesn't Amazon make their own Bitcoin and just put the real Bitcoin out of business? Oh, I could like, hey, this is fun, man. I like this. Let's play stuff that ain't never going to happen, but it's fun to game theory fan fiction about. It's stupid, man. I could do it all day.
But in the worst case scenario, they can just be forked out. So
sure,
that's your counter argument, which is that even in that horrible scenario where they decide to go off the rails and do something crazy, damage the project, you have protection against that, which is just forking the project, basically.
You got it.
So that's a good point. I agree with that. I mean, the only counter would be they could theoretically dump a lot of tokens before that occurs. So
when has this ever happened, bro?
Right.
You're talking about, you might as well be talking about My Little Ponies. It's just dumb. Like, I mean, like, that's fair. It's not worth talking about. I mean, here, let me give you some better fan fiction theories. What if HEX becomes the global world reserve currency? What if HEX sucks up all the liquidity from everything in the world? What if the HEX price goes so high that it breaks exchanges? I like these games better. These are more fun. Like,
that was my original kind of question, is like, what is the end game for HEX? Do you see it becoming like a reserve currency?
I look at the HEX price chart and I see it going up and to the right and curving up and to the right. And I don't know why that would stop or even decelerate. We're pre-viral. Almost nobody's ever heard of us.
Yeah, it's true.
It's nearly impossible to buy. There's tons of awesome things coming up on the horizon. Pulse, all these conversations with 100 millionaires that are, you know, being, hey, hop on the phone with this guy. He sold this company, all this stuff. Interviews are getting better. You know, my number of followers is just going up 600 a day, basically, across, you know, the different channels. It's quite a lot. You know, I'm at like 130K on Twitter now. There's just, everything's going great. Like, the only thing that people are a little upset about is that there was a dip. And you're like, it's in the game. There's always going to be dips. That is never going away. There's always going to be dips. And a dip is when the buyers are happy to get a great deal to get in, and when the sellers are, you know, unhappy that they didn't sell earlier. And the funniest thing is, if you want to cause any crypto person a ton of torture, just wick the price up 2x and then sell it back down and watch them all cry. You're just like, everyone just is like, oh my God, what's happening? You're like, well, the price is the same it was like yesterday. This is what's happening. Are you okay?
Yeah.
You're going to survive.
You've been very transparent about that with the pullbacks. I think that's a good thing you're
They're
doing.
They're in the game. They're not going away. And I think you're going to see them. Oh, by the way, Bitcoin was down 20% from 7 days ago, just yesterday. And Ethereum was down 20% from 7 days ago, just yesterday. Now they've got a pump, but dips are in the game, and I don't care what coin you're in. You're in the dollar? All right, well, you're down 92% over the last 50, 70 years or whatever.
Yeah, and I think because of the fact that you guys have so many coins locked up, you should have dampened volatility on the downside. You should, in theory.
Well, you would think that, but when some big whale comes up and just wicks the price up insane, it's like there's nothing you can do about it, right? Like that's a feature, not a bug. You want the price to be able to wick up high, and so you got to choose what you want. Do you want low volatility or do you want mad gains?
Right.
You want mad gains, you are going to have volatility. That is the price you pay for the maddest of gains. And I think 1,000,000% in 2 years, rather 621 days, ain't too bad.
Yeah, that's like some Babe Ruth status thing there. Pretty one of the best calls I've seen. So kudos.
Yeah. I just want to apologize to all the people that called you a scam. I'm going to apologize on behalf of them because you never really got the recognition. I saw you and Peter McCormick going at it like when you first launched, and how he called you a freaking con artist basically, and he never really owned up and said, hey, you made more people richer than probably almost anyone in the last like 3 years in crypto. So I mean, I have one friend that literally put a few $1,000s into you, and he's worth, millions of dollars. So nice. You've definitely changed people's lives, and you never really got the quality from anyone. So you definitely deserve that.
Yeah, I feel like it's one-sided, where you get skepticism in the beginning, and then you get nothing in the middle, but you don't get the reverse of skepticism, which is like an apology. So you definitely deserve that on behalf of, I'm sure, a lot of people.
So if you guys want, man, I wrote free self-help books long before anyone knew I was in crypto. Well, publicly. T.me/SciVive. SCI.
Or just on your YouTube, you have a lot of, for people that are watching on my YouTube, you have a lot of good videos. Obviously, interesting ones about quitting gambling and poker.
Yep.
Harrison and I, of course, pro poker players.
Yep.
But I would say
a lot
the
of
same
people
thing.
quit
Most people
over that video. A lot of people messaged me and said they quit poker over that video.
Yeah, I would say most people shouldn't play poker, and I'm a professional poker player. I would say the same thing. It's most people are going to lose, so zero-sum game. I definitely understand that point of view. But yeah, a lot of good stuff that you've put out too on non-financial things that I think are worth checking out on Richard Hart YouTube.
So
scroll back.
I just want to
cool
finish.
Hat.
I want to finish the thread,
videos.
the short thread of me bagging. Call the tops, awesome, like a boss. Called the 60K like Bitcoin price 2 years ago in Malta on stage. Created one of the world's best performing assets in the history of mankind with perfect flawless operation. Am doing the world's largest airdrop. Produce free self-help books. Raise $27 million for charity. I don't know what I could do to be leading a better life. And I would be willing to say I'm the best human being in cryptocurrency. And if someone wants to produce free self-help material, raise more money for charity to take my title, I'll wait, do it. I would love to be second. But as it stands, there's no one in cryptocurrency that's doing more to help their fellow man than I am.
Yeah, I want to thank you on behalf of humanity for doing that. 27 million descends. That was huge. I'm into that as well. And
yeah, Harrison and I are both big fans of
excellent
Aubrey de Grey, and I've listened to many interviews from him, read his book. It's a great project. So congrats on that, and definitely encourage more support for Sens and what you're doing with that. So good job.
Chat says Pat's on silk t-shirt back.
Yeah, there you go. Deserved. Yeah, so guys, I'm Alec Torelli. Just check me out on Twitter or Cryptorelli, my YouTube. If you guys are on the HEX channel, I put out a lot of content with Harrison and myself on crypto. So if you guys have questions, let us know. Thanks, Richard, for doing this. I really appreciate it. This was really fun.
Appreciate it.
Christopher, you got anything you want to promote? Anything?
Harrison?
I'm sorry.
No, I'm good. Thanks, guys.
I saw an H under his name, and I'm like, yeah, Christopher, that sounds good.
Maybe we could recap in like a year from now or something like that.
I know.
I'd be happy to,
when you call the Pulse, when the Pulse thing comes to fruition, we're gonna have to reference this chat.
I think it's gonna be big. I think it's gonna be a really big deal, man. I hope we can get the ETH fees down for everybody by removing their users.
I mean, I'll wrap up with, given your history, it's hard to bet against you. And
thank you so much.
Stay tuned, guys. All right, thanks for your time,
See
Richard.
You, bro. Ciao.
See everybody.
Right. Peace.
Well, that was an absolutely fabulous interview. I thought those were very intelligent questions. A little too much parade of imaginary horrible stuff, but that was a really good interview. So thanks, Alec and Harrison. Appreciate it very much. Crypto Queen says, you made me a millionaire. Can't thank you enough. Oh, man. Did I just lose it? I think I might have just not. I think I lost that cool comment. Hey, Crypto Queen, if you want to copy paste your comment again. Oh, here we go. I found it. You made me a millionaire. I can't thank you enough. Real talk. I saw your call on the 20K Christmas in real time. More than once, months in advance while everyone scoffed, and you never wavered like a boss. Thank you so much. Rename the documentary The Highest of Gains. Sounds cool. Wish I was in charge of that. I'm just checking out chat here a little bit. Richard gave me a reason to see the light at the end of the tunnel. He literally saved me mentally. Thanks, bud. Glad to hear it, man. Thank you of behalf of humanity, says Crypto Contrarian. Thank you. Richard Hart's a true OG. Thanks, Big Gunner. The most honest human being cryptocurrency for sure. Much respect, Richard. Thanks a lot in American crypto. Vitalik donated $1 billion, though? No, he didn't. Unfortunately. He could, but he didn't. Richard Hart, the best in crypto. Thanks, man. A lot of positive comments here. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate the positive comments. I do like it. What other LV you got from the trip? I have endless amounts of stuff I could show you. Like, absolutely endless. I mean, here. I'll just grab some. Sitting next to the chair here. Oh. Actually, I don't even need this. Look, guys, expensive pants. Look. €1,000 pants. Oh, look at this stuff. Ah, yes. Look at this. Got the moon boots in red. Yeah. Got these with matching jacket and pants. Prada. Look at the little Prada triangles there. You see them on the top? Yeah. These look pretty killer. I think you can see the Prada triangles better on these ones. Yeah. So cool. Oh, you asked the wrong question, homie. Oh. Let's see what kind of stuff we got here. Got us a nice Louis Vuitton t-shirt. Monogram, of course. Ooh, look at these. Moon boots, but low top. Yeah. Look at that. I literally have, like, I could do this for an hour, so I won't. But I could show you new designer goods for an hour easily. But I won't do it. I won't do it. Any other cool questions here? Difficult to trust a guy that don't smile. I smile? What are you talking about? Who doesn't smile? Show the LV yoga mat. There it is. LV yoga mat. Cool. Fancy. Monogram. Ugh. Yeah, I don't want to take the hour to do this. Eventually I'll do an unboxing video, but I don't know. Is there any other stuff I can just grab? It's easy. I mean, I've got piles of stuff here. Loving your crystals in the background. They're totally sparkling. Thanks, man. Alex Torelli is known and infamous for making one of the biggest angle shoot move in pro poker history. Okay. Sounds like you're describing billiards, but I'll take your word for it. Is it still possible to sacrifice for Pulse? Yes. Pulse.info, but you're just getting a worse rate because it's been ticking at 5% per day for a while. He smiles with his eyes. Thanks. Hex yoga channel. Nice. Hope your ear gets better. Yeah, me too. It's ringing. So guys, thank you for all the beautiful comments. Please subscribe to me on Instagram. I need more followers there. Instagram.com/RichardHartOfficial. Twitter.com/RichardHartWin. YouTube.com/RichardHart. Pulse.info. PulseChain.com. T.me/HexCrypto. T.me/PulseChain.com. T.me/SciVive. Is that enough? Did you like Latvia? It was okay. Is that LV laptop? No, I don't. I have an LV speaker. Man, you guys are really beating up the chat here. My goodness. Oh, man. Yeah. So maybe I'll address all these questions while I'm in the UK. We'll see. All right, everybody. It's really been a pleasure. I wish you all the maddest of gains. Also, please go to hex731gathering.com. I'd really like the tickets to sell out so it looks cooler for the documentary. I'm not making any money on it. I don't have anything to do with the production. So I think they're doing it like a break-even kind of thing. Anything else? Yeah, I think that's about it. You guys are awesome. I love you, Hexkins. Love you, Paulskins. You're great people. Keep it real, man. You know, keep a positive mental attitude out there. Support your fellow Hexkins and get the word out, you know. Outbound messaging is the best thing you can do to get the word out, you know. Like, if you want to make the world a better place, you got to do it yourself. So do it. Go make the world a better place. Tell people about